the Mind Q Show podcast. Today is a special presentation for Remembrance Day. This is the do's and the don'ts, the tips for Remembrance Day. All of these I have seen in person as do's and don'ts. And if you are wondering how to not make somebody cranky on Remembrance Day, this is how. The top 8 rules of November 11th. Rule number 1, pretty simple, wear a poppy. And if you can, try to wear it correctly. I actually don't care how you wear it, but the Legion does. The poppy, this little thing right here, is a symbol of the fallen. So those that have died in battle. And for veterans, at least for myself, it is also a symbol of the sacrifices of the survivors and the families of survivors and the families of the fallen. So, wear a poppy. The Legion owns the copyright, the logo, the intellectual property that is the poppy. So, to maintain the integrity of the poppy, they ask that you wear it just the way that you bought it, and that the center pin is not replaced with a Canada flag or any other kind of pin. I personally don't care, and the chances of somebody calling you out on it are extremely slim. But just so you know, that's what the Legion would prefer, and it is their symbol. Attend a ceremony. If you've never been to a Remembrance Day ceremony in your life, please attend one. Personally, I can't stand the municipal ones, but I can't complain about something I haven't tried to fix. I just avoid them. One of the best ones is in Calgary anyway, is at the Military Museum. If actual military people are putting on the Remembrance Day ceremony, it tends to be less political and less a place for politicians to politic. So attend a ceremony or take a moment to pause at the 11th hour on November 11th. If you happen to be I was at Millennium Place in Sherwood Park, went there several times, could not ever stand the ceremony there, just glad that they have it, but would always make my skin crawl. At the 1 minute of silence, which is not a lot of time to ask, but at the 1 minute of silence, being that it was in Millennium Place, you could look up and there's people on the treadmill going about their business in the gym and paying no respect at all. That's unfortunate. And so just be aware of that. If you're at Millennium Place in Sherwood Park and you're at the gym during the ceremony, maybe get off the treadmill for 1 minute. 1 minute to just pause and reflect. That's all anybody would ever ask. Rule number 3, no matter what you're doing, to take a moment and pause and reflect. Take a moment, no matter what you're doing, where you're at. If you have to work that day, that's life. But if you could take a moment just to reflect on the sacrifices of the fallen, and that would be great. Maybe put an extra $5 in the poppy fund when you buy a poppy. If you are within line of sight of others who are at a ceremony, please pause at 11 a.m. Already got that. That was number 4. If you're at a ceremony, please remove your hat. The veterans at the Remembrance Day ceremony would consider it a sign of respect if you were able to remove your hat. And if it's cold out and you just need something on your melon so that you don't freeze, it's understandable. The times to take off your hat is first the marching of the colors. That's the flag parade. So a bunch of people marching with flags. That's a good time to take off your hat. And just watch the people in uniform for cues. When they're standing at attention, that's probably a good time to take off your hat. And some ceremonies are going to have remove headdress as a command. So if you see a bunch of people in uniform taking off their uniform hats, it would be considered a sign of respect to follow suit. And if they're taking off their hats, you take off your hat. It's just considered a sign of respect. So please give that some consideration. Questions not to ask. There's a couple of classics, and I've had both of these. Veterans wear their medals on the left, same place that the poppy should be. So part of wearing a poppy correctly to wear it on your left over your heart. Okay. Now, if you see somebody with medals that are on their left, that's their medals. If they are wearing medals on the right, those are probably Legion medals, which I got a problem with, but that's just me. I'm not a fan of Legion medals at all. They should come up with something else, but that's another story. If they're wearing them on the left, the same side as your heart, those are medals that they have earned. And by earned, it could be the amount of time they've had in the military. It could be places they've been, tours of duties that they've been on. It can also be acts of valor. So when somebody's wearing their medals on the left, those are their medals. I once received the question, are those your grandfather's medals? At the time, well, I was gracious about it, and no, those are mine. Those are mine. And, I'm sorry. You look too young to be a veteran. Oh, and this was some years ago when that happened. It was a town councilor that said that. So those are not, if they're worn on the left, those are not Grandpa's medals. Those are medals that belonging and earned by the person wearing them. And please, and believe it or not, people still do this. Please, 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 no matter how curious you are, please do not ask, did you ever kill anybody? We get that one a lot, and I've responded a bunch of different ways to it. If you are a veteran and you get the inevitable question, have you ever killed anybody, whether it be from an adult or from a child, try not to get upset. They're just curious. I'm curious among other veterans. I mean, I've wanted to ask the question, people I've served with. I tend not to, but it's an understandable question. But here's the thing. It's an extremely personal question. Extremely personal. So no matter how curious you are about did you ever kill anybody, please don't ask it. Super, super personal question, and not one that is fun to deal with. So if you are asked the question, I suggest just being gracious about it and saying, hey, you know what, I do get that question every now and then, and I understand your curiosity. However, it's a super personal question. So is it okay if I don't answer it? That's one way you may want to consider responding to it. And number 8, the last rule of Remembrance Day. It can be a tough day for us. Please be patient with your fellow veterans. Or if you're the family of a veteran, please be aware it can be a tough day. It's a day of high anxiety that brings back memories that we'd rather not have. It's why a lot of people avoid going to the Remembrance Day ceremonies, avoid going to the Legion. They just don't want those memories in their face. It's just too much. So it's a high anxiety day for a lot of us. If we're a little grumpy or unpleasant, please be patient with us. It'll pass in a day or two. But in the days working up to, and especially on Remembrance Day, it is a tough day. My grandfather died on Remembrance Day, probably partially due to the anxiety that comes along with it. Yeah, he was a World War II veteran. So please be cognizant of that. If we're cranky, unpleasant, a little standoffish, a little quiet, there's a reason why. And so please be patient with that. Please forgive us for that. And that's one way you can help support veterans. Thank you for listening. Thank you for tuning in. I hope this is helpful. Please share it if you've learned anything. Thank you and have a great day.